Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm Brian, and I'm really excited to jump into some fascinating research with you today.
This deep dive is specifically for all of you over at the Detox Health YouTube channel.
Yeah, if you're into learning about health and wellness and want to try out some delicious, healthy recipes,
Definitely hit that subscribe button.
all right, so today we're going to be talking about artificial sweeteners and heart health.
Yeah, I'm Chelsea, a nutritionist, and I'm here to kind of break down some of the science for you.
Awesome. So there was a study that came out recently suggesting that there might be a link between aspartame and an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes.
Right. Aspartame is that super common sugar substitute you find in like everything, diet sodas, chewing gum.
It's crazy how widespread aspartame is.
It really is. Like you find it in things you wouldn't even think of, like yogurt and some cereals.
That's why I think this research is so important. It directly impacts like our everyday lives.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
one study that really stood out to us was published in the journal Cell Metabolism, and it looked at the effects of aspartame on mice.
Mm-hmm.
And the results were pretty interesting.
Yeah. The researchers gave mice a daily dose of aspartame, which was roughly equivalent to a human drinking 3 cans of diet soda per day.
Wow.
I know, right? And they continued this for 12 weeks.
Okay.
And what they found was kind of alarming. The mice who were fed aspartame developed more fatty plaques in their arteries,
Oh, wow.
which, as we know, are a major risk factor for heart attacks and strokes.
Right.
They also showed higher levels of inflammation compared to the control group, who obviously didn't receive any aspartame.
Now, before everyone runs to their pantry and throws out all the diet soda,
Yeah.
it's really important to remember that this study was done on mice, not humans.
Right. It's a good point.
Yeah.
And these weren't just any mice. They were specifically bred to be susceptible to heart disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And on top of that, they were on a high-fat diet throughout the study.
Okay.
So both of those factors could have contributed to the plaque buildup.
Interesting. And did the researchers actually track, like, how much aspartame the mice were consuming?
You know, that's a great question. And they actually didn't measure the actual intake.
Hmm.
So it's difficult to say for certain if the dose they were given was truly equivalent to what a human might consume from those 3 cans of diet soda.
That makes sense because I imagine, like, everybody metabolizes things a bit differently.
Exactly.
So it's not a perfect comparison.
Or not at all.
But it's still pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And definitely something that we need to investigate further.
Yeah, for sure. So the researchers did suggest a possible mechanism for how aspartame might be contributing to this plaque buildup.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that when we consume aspartame, it might lead to a spike in our blood sugar levels.
Yeah. And this spike triggers the production of a protein called CX3CL1.
CX3CL1. That's a mouthful.
I know. It's a tongue twister. But it's a really important protein when we're talking about heart health.
So what does this CX3CL1 actually do?
Well, think of it like a sort of molecular glue. It basically attracts and traps cells on the inner lining of our blood vessels. And then over time, this can lead to the formation of those fatty plaques that we were talking about,
I see.
which then restrict blood flow and increase the risk of heart problems.
So even though this was done on mice, it does raise some questions about the long-term impact of aspartame on humans.
Right. It definitely brings up some important questions that we're going to be exploring further in this deep dive.
I'm ready. Let's get into it. Okay, so we've got this study with these mice, and it looks like there could be a link between aspartame and heart problems. But what do the experts think? Should we all freak out and toss out our diet sodas?
Well, it's like a lot of things in nutrition, you know? The expert opinions are kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Some experts are saying we should cut back on aspartame just to be safe, especially because it's in so many foods.
Okay.
They're saying, like, why take the risk even if we don't have, like, solid proof from human studies?
Better safe than sorry. Right.
Right. But then you have other experts who are saying, hold on a second. Let's not overreact about this mouse study. They're saying, remember those mice were like bred to have heart problems?
Oh, right.
And they were eating a super high-fat diet? So that could have messed with the results, too. Plus, they didn't even measure how much aspartame the mice were actually drinking.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know for sure if it's really comparable to what people are consuming.
So basically, we need more research, especially research done on humans, to really know if aspartame is a problem for our hearts.
Exactly. Yeah, we need more data.
So until then, what do you think? Should people be worried about aspartame?
I think it's all about balance, you know,
Right.
like having a diet soda here and there or a piece of sugar-free gum probably isn't going to hurt most people.
Right.
But if you're like drinking diet soda all day, every day, it might be a good idea to maybe cut back a little.
Okay, good advice.
Mhm.
So let's talk a bit more about aspartame. What exactly are artificial sweeteners, and how does aspartame fit into all of that?
Okay. So basically, artificial sweeteners are sugar substitutes. They're made to taste sweet without all the calories of regular sugar.
Okay.
Aspartame is one of the most popular ones, along with sucralose and stevia.
Right.
It's been approved by the FDA, and it's been used in tons of products for decades.
And the FDA has set like a limit on how much aspartame we should have in a day,
Right.
like an acceptable daily intake or ADI.
Yes, it's 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight,
Okay.
which works out to about 19 cans of diet soda a day for someone who weighs 150 pounds.
19 cans. That's a lot of soda.
It is. I don't think most people are drinking that much.
Me neither. But even though most people aren't going over that limit, we should still be aware of the potential downsides of aspartame.
Definitely. So there's been some talk about aspartame making people hungrier and causing weight gain. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's something I've heard too.
The research on that is mixed, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, some studies show a possible link between aspartame and increased appetite, but other studies don't.
Some more research is needed there too.
For sure. And then there are concerns about aspartame's effect on our metabolism.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, some research suggests a connection between aspartame and an increased risk of type 2 diabetes.
Okay. And there have been studies done on animals showing that long-term aspartame use could have negative effects on the nervous system.
Yeah.
Is there any evidence of that in humans?
Yeah, that's a good question. Those studies did show some effects on things like behavior, mental stress, memory, and learning in animals.
Wow.
Yeah. But we need more research in humans to see if those effects translate to people.
Right, because we can't always assume what happens in animals will happen in humans.
Exactly. And we can't talk about aspartame without talking about cancer.
Right, because that's like the big worry a lot of people have. Does aspartame cause cancer?
The short answer is we don't really know for sure. There have been lots of studies, but the results are all over the place.
Okay.
Some studies suggest a link between aspartame and some cancers, but others don't find any connection.
So it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, it is. But the general consensus from groups like the FDA and the National Cancer Institute is that the evidence for aspartame causing cancer in humans is weak and inconsistent.
So not a yes or no then?
Exactly. And remember, just because a study shows a correlation between aspartame and a health outcome doesn't mean aspartame caused it. There could be other things going on.
Okay, so it sounds like there's still a lot of question marks surrounding aspartame. But are there any groups of people who should just stay away from it altogether?
Yeah, actually, there's one group in particular, people with phenylketonuria, or PKU.
PKU.
Yeah, it's a genetic condition where people can't break down phenylalanine properly. And phenylalanine is one of the components of aspartame.
Got it. So for people with PKU, aspartame is definitely off the table.
Exactly.
Okay. What about some of the other things people have mentioned, like headaches or digestive problems? Are those common reactions to aspartame?
You know, some people do report those kinds of side effects, like headaches, dizziness, mood changes. Some people also say they have digestive issues, like bloating, gas, diarrhea.
Oh, wow.
But it's not everyone. It seems to be more common in people who are sensitive to aspartame.
So it's really a matter of listening to your body and seeing how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. If you notice any bad side effects after you have something with aspartame, maybe cut back or try a different sweetener.
Good advice. Let's go back to that mouse study for a minute. You said it had some limitations. Can you remind us what those were and why we shouldn't jump to conclusions based on just that one study?
Right. So those mice were bred to have heart problems, which isn't the case for most people. And they were on a high-fat diet the whole time, so that could have messed things up too. Plus, the researchers didn't measure how much aspartame the mice actually drank, so we don't know for sure if they were getting a dose that's comparable to what humans would get from drinking diet soda.
So while the study does make you think about the effects of aspartame on heart health, we really need more research, especially on humans, to get the whole picture.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's definitely not the be-all and end-all of aspartame research.
Okay, so where does this leave us?
Yeah.
Should we all swear off aspartame forever? Or is it okay to have a diet soda or some sugar-free gum once in a while?
I think it comes down to personal choice, you know? There's no right or wrong answer here. Based on what we've talked about, it seems like moderation is key. If you're worried about the risks, maybe cut back or try other sweeteners.
So what are some good alternatives to aspartame?
Oh, there are lots of natural sweeteners out there that can satisfy your sweet tooth without the artificial stuff.
Okay.
Honey, maple syrup, agave, nectar, stevia, leaves, molasses. They're all good options.
Cool.
They each taste a little different and have different nutritional benefits. So you can experiment and find what you like.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
great to have options and find what works best for you.
Exactly. And remember, the more you know about what you're eating, the better choices you can make for your health.
Well said. So to sum it all up, it sounds like we still don't know for sure about the long-term effects of aspartame. More research is needed, especially on humans. But in the meantime, it's probably a good idea to be mindful of how much we're consuming and maybe try some other sweeteners if we're concerned.
For sure. And stay tuned for new research as it comes out. Things are always changing in the world of nutrition.
Very true. A big thank you to our friends at Detox Health for suggesting this deep dive,
Yes, thank you.
and to everyone listening. Don't forget to check out the Detox Health YouTube channel for tons of awesome health tips and delicious healthy recipes that don't use artificial sweeteners. You can subscribe by clicking the subscribe button.
That's right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And we'll catch you on our next deep dive adventure.